Hey, and welcome back. So, a little while ago, it's been a little bit of time, I think, I did a video regarding Michael Tait, the singer of DC Talk and Newsboys. And in case you haven't heard, which I'm sure a lot of people have, this kind of scandal kind of rocked to the Christian music industry with Michael Tait. Alleged offenses that came through on mainly, I believe, the Roy's report by Julie Roy's, alleging tons of misconduct, sexual misconduct with Michael Tait. Michael Tait did step down as lead singer of the Newsboys, and then this I believe a few months later, he came out with a confession um, titled "My Confession." He posted that online on his Instagram. This comes right after a report that was published by the Roy's Report where these things are being alleged. So there has been an update. I've been following this, and I guess I did a video on this, so there has been as far as April 28th. Um, we just have some new information surrounding the whole case that's there. So the new information that we have is, again, like I said, we're talking about news stories, and this information by extension is about Michael Tait. So Wes Campbell is the manager of Newsboys, um, and he manages others, and he's filed a federal lawsuit claiming defamation, entertainment fraud, and revealing trade secrets, among other things, in a move to push him out of the Christian music industry and create a monopoly against him. So basically, this is alleging that several companies are trying to push others out and run the entire Christian music industry through a monopoly. So, like I said, Wes Campbell is the manager of Newsboys, and he's also the owner of Thriving Children Advocates, or TCA. So, this came out just a few days ago. While I'm recording this, it was a couple days ago. But April 28th, and this is information that you can actually check out online yourself. It has been published for free um, at newsboyslawsuit.com or tcalawsuit.com, and I'll put that in the video. So on this website, we see a 265-page document being filed in federal court. So in this lawsuit, we see Wes Campbell and Newsboys as part of the plaintiffs, and we're going to get into the defendants too. So in the lawsuit, we see quite a few names and entities involved, which include the companies Waterland, LiveCO/TPR, World Vision, and the Roy's Report. And the Roy's Report is the self-proclaimed Christian watchdog news reporting agency that's headed by Julie Roy's, who originally reported on the incidents revolving around Michael Tait Newsboys. It was those articles that I found out about what was going on. So Julie Roy's is also alleged, as well as the band MercyMe and their frontman Bart Miller. So let's go ahead and get into this a little bit. Waterland is accused of running a monopoly in the contemporary Christian music industry after acquiring several entities simultaneously to make up for about 80% of the Christian music world's promotions. They are accused of working with World Vision to gain substantial amounts of capital to run that monopoly in the Christian concert world. The company allegedly wished to buy out Campbell's company as well. So this is just kind of getting into the what is being alleged. I'm not gonna. I know it kind of sounded pretty specific there that I was saying that this is what's happening. So I'll get more into this now. I'm just going ahead and sharing what this document is alleging against these companies. So they're alleging they had to remove Campbell from the Christian music industry and remove his company TCA. And they needed to get Newsboys, out of the competitive market. So, according to Campbell in this document, they began searching for ways to destroy Campbell. So, in what's being alleged, there is an instance where a man is being accused, his name is Matt West, of rape of a woman who they're naming as Nicole. So this just leads me to that. Sorry, it was Matt Brewer. No, sorry, remember, there's two Matts going on. I think I got those names confused. So this led to a woman who alleged that she was raped by Matt Brewer, who was an independent lighting contractor, and this would have been about 11 years ago. So there is a video of a hotel where this takes place, and I'm going to say I've seen that video, which seems to show her acting willingly. So in the alleged incident, she states that she was possibly drugged by Tait, and then they went to a hotel room, where she was allegedly assaulted sexually by Matt Brewer, like I said, that independent lighting contractor. So before I get too far ahead, I want to again say that I saw that video and I did watch it, and actually it is online. It's on YouTube too. I know Julie Roy's has it on her YouTube, and I'm sure others might as well. So let's move to the lawsuit. It states that 3 days after the incident, she had actually told police that the encounter was consensual, and that they saw no evidence of her actually having been drugged by anyone. This idea of rape only started occurring from people around her due to her saying she had amnesia. And then over a decade later, after being approached by the company, I said Waterland, while working for MercyMe, then this whole idea of rape came out. So the lawsuit alleges at the time of the incident, after having not answered any calls during about a 45-minute period of time, in which it says that she was engaging in consensual sexual conduct with Matt. She subsequently told coworkers that she actually didn't remember what happened. So, like I said, I saw the video and I don't know, she looked like she's pretty willingly going into that room and willingly speaking to them. And it doesn't seem like she actually was drugged. And I'll get into that in a second to what the police actually say. So what I see here with her is shame. She didn't want to admit what happened. Now, I'm not saying that maybe I'm wrong on that one. I'm just going to go ahead and look into this information, and they are presenting some evidence, so I can see that. All of this information that I'm going to share about this was not shared with the Roy's report in the Roy's report articles. So, you can see more about this starting on page 119 of the document. Article numbers 418 through 453. So that actually explores the Roy's report allegations, and then it gets into some contradictions in the story, and how the situation really makes no logical sense. Also explaining how the report failed to mention police inquiries at the time of the alleged sexual assault and what happened in the days following. It really dives deep into another perspective than what the Roy's report had reported previously. So I'm giving you some page numbers, and I'm going to share a few screenshots in a moment here. Not a lot, but like I said, you can go and check out these pages for yourself. So you can also look at page 136. Letter D, that dives into this whole scenario. So I guess she actually did make comments to the police saying that it was actually a consensual encounter with with the man. And then later, she actually went and told friends that she didn't remember. She wasn't sure. But then when they actually got her to the police station and she started speaking to him, she said that it was actually consensual. So, yeah. So now, we have conflicting stories with what the Roy's reported and what they reported on. Okay, so I mentioned MercyMe. So I'm going to show a few screenshots here, and I'll go ahead and read them with you. So, in the contemporary Christian music industry, including MercyMe, are so named. Those artists are alleged to have breached contracts with the Campbell affiliated companies, which breaches are alleged to have been induced by LiveCO, TPR, as a part of the overall monopolistic scheme for LiveCO, TPR, and World Vision to take control of non-profit funding at CCM concerts and separate the groups from Campbell affiliation. And I have another one here I'm going to share too, and I'll read that one. Okay. The claims asserted against MercyMe defendants likewise arise from the same series of transaction and occurrences as plaintiffs' federal claims. As alleged herein, among other reasons, the termination of MercyMe's contractual relationship with plaintiff TCA was induced and coordinated in connection with the same course of conduct for which the Waterland defendants and sought to eliminate plaintiff TCA as a competitor. Okay, so MercyMe, they're quite a large band in the Christian music industry. Um, so when you look over this, it appears that Waterland wants to own everything and did whatever they could to get them to transfer from TCA and work with LiveCo TPR. You can see page 7, article 20 and 21. And I'm just going to go ahead and read those right now, actually, with you. So, here we go. That effort to rewrite the current business model and reshape industry expectations reached its zenith in August 2024. The Waterland defendants knew that one of the TCA's biggest contracted artists was the mega music group MercyMe, whose contract with TCA was then up for renewal. From the confidential information TCA had given them, the Waterland defendants knew the precise contours of MercyMe's sponsorship compensation structure. The Waterland defendants and World Vision thus approached MercyMe with an offer to pay for some of MM's production costs that MercyMe would otherwise have to pay themselves, but only if MercyMe would forgo sponsorship payments from TCA. The amounts offered to MercyMe were intended to replace the sponsorship TCA had offered, and TCA would likely offer again. But the key was to modify MercyMe's thinking so they would no longer think of terms of dollars per sponsor. MercyMe's agent Scott Bickle told TCA the Waterland defendants offered a significant production cost payments in exchange for a waiver of sponsorship money. TCA then translated that into a new sponsorship payment, which MercyMe agreed to. MercyMe then told the Waterland defendants that was opting to resign with TCA, keeping its model of sponsorship revenue intact. This was a major competitive blow for the Waterland defendants and the division. So yeah, there's a lot going on here. You can also see pages 45 and 47 through 47 if you want to read more about that. So MercyMe have been working for TCA for years, but their contract was about to end, and then they go ahead and what's being alleged is that they knew about the inner workings of what Waterland and these other companies were doing, and they decided to go ahead and move over and be a part of this monopoly that they're starting to try and take over. This is what's being alleged. So, MercyMe is just put in there because, like I said, their alleged revenue gain and the working knowledge of the doings of Waterland, like CO and TPR, and their attempt to take over TCA partnerships. You can look at page 51, number 185, stating that MercyMe were a knowing participant in antitrust violations by Waterland and World Vision, and that they knew what these companies were up to. You can also look at pages 53 and 54, numbers 197 through 200. So as I was going through and reading over this whole document, and it's quite big. They do have some private information of the defendants, addresses and stuff, just as a quick note. So we go to pages 23 through 28, and it starts to explain some of the information into the Christian music industry and how revenue is accumulated, and a look into what goes on into performances by artists, how the promoters work, as well as how nonprofits are a large crucial factor into the inner workings of the contemporary Christian music industry. And I have a couple more screenshots here I'm going to share with you in regards to that. So here's one. Uh, Artists in the CCM touring market are dependent on nonprofit charities who, with the artist's consent, solicit donors during CCM concerts. Donors are referred to as sponsors. CCM music artists have what the industry calls public platforms. While explained in detail hereafter, that term refers to the general ability of an artist to attract large audiences at faith-based CCM concerts. And here is another one. This is a long one. Okay. As used herein, contemporary Christian music is referred to as CCM. Assertions are made in this article for that are elaborated on in the cause of action that follow. CCM live concert market is not a subset of or interchangeably with the broader live secular music industry, but instead constitutes a fundamentally distinct commercial and cultural ecosystem. Venues, audiences, and performances are very different. In earlier times, live CCM concerts were viewed as generators for album sales, which were the primary source of revenues for CCM musicians. Digital music downloads and streaming replaced album sales as the primary income. But inadequate compensation rates for digital downloads led to the increasing importance of live concerts as the primary source of revenue in the CCM music industry. As explained in detail in Article 5, CCM music concerts are generally classed as either CCM tours or one-off performances. CCM tours, described in detail in FRED, or the CCM touring market, are generally a series of pre-planned, branded, and commonly promoted live Christian music performances presented in multiple pre-selected venues in multiple cities or states, pursuant to a published route or date list. CCM one-time events, on the other hand, also described in detail infra, are typically in a single hosted venue and occur on a standalone basis. The primary market relevant here is the CCM touring market, which involves A. Performing artists, B. Promoters, and C. Non-profit concert sponsors, all which are explained in detail in Article 5. So, I didn't really know too much about the inner workings of, music industry, and I guess this is pertaining specifically to Christian music industry. I don't really know much about the inner workings. This is kind of opening my eyes a bit. So on page 28, it does reveal some of how TCA worked in the music industry, stating that, this is Campbell's business, stating that their business model differs from others in the industry. And that's something that required the persons involved with them to sign confidentiality agreements. So you move over to page 29, and that reveals some info on World Vision and their business with TCA. It dives into business dealings of all these entities. This document is just diving into all the business dealings of these entities and how it pertains to Newsboys, MercyMe, and the alleged scandal. So reading over, I see the word destruction actually being used a lot. And I want to get into that for a second. So, I know I just poured out a lot of information on it. So, what Campbell here is doing is going ahead and sharing a lot of information about freedom of workings of the Christian music industry are. He's alleging that what these companies did was they actually started to go and start buying out all of these other promotion companies and simultaneously bought them all, where they now own and promote about 80% of the music industry. And so, what he is getting into is this alleged destruction of TCA and himself, and that they actually came up with these allegations and these ways to try and get him out of the music industry so that they could actually hold a larger amount, over 80%. So um, he's just saying that they were after him and involved in a plot to take over the Christian music industry and all the contracts that TCA held. And so that's like what we saw with MercyMe. Uh, so, this kind of does have a few things about Michael Tait in it. Page 52, number 188 and 189 state that because of Tait being a frontrunner of Newsboys, the band has been boycotted from tours and performances. And I know that this is true because I read some information regarding it. So Newsboys has not played a concert since last year, and I think it's been about 9 months. So when this whole thing with Michael Tait blew up, everybody dropped them. And I don't know, I thought it was kind of a strange, move to drop them all, but, maybe this is making more sense. But, so they dropped them, and they haven't been able to, they haven't played any concerts or anything. I know they were taken off the radio, and Michael Tait was, Newsboys there. And, I thought it was kind of odd that they would do that. But, I kind of also understand because of these allegations with Michael Tait. So we see the Roy's report, and actually, I read that, and I was pretty shocked. Um, so on page 52, also the number 191, it speaks about the possibility of other artists actually breaching contracts with TCA as well at the behest of Waterland. So they're kind of saying they're not only MercyMe as the only one that would actually be doing this, with the possibility of knowing what these companies were up to. So back to Michael Tait. Um, it does start some information regarding him that on page 135, number 454 and 455, saying that the Roy's report had actually really repainted what Tait said and exaggerated his words, and reported something other than what his confession had said. And actually, I do agree that they did kind of take the wording of what he said and kind of changed it around. Um, he did say that there was unwanted sensual touching, and then, they used the words like sexual assault. And, sometimes people do use those words as a shock, grab you, and, maybe that's not what's really going on. So, kind of done a little bit of an overrun of what's in the document, the lawsuit that's been been released. They also have exhibits in the document. You can see the exhibits stated in the lawsuit, starting on page 196, which this includes a couple of the Roy's reports. It also has some police paperwork regarding the polling math, and also a TCA document regarding MercyMe. So, lots of information coming in. This is kind of a sum up of what's being alleged, and again, it's all for all to look at. And again, you can look at it yourself at www.tcalawsuit.com or www.newsboyslawsuit.com. So, on that note, it does state in the document that they're asking for a jury trial, and they're also seeking $50 million in damages. You can see everything that they allege summed up pretty well, starting on page 192. So I want to kind of get into my previous video a little bit. I'm sorry that if I I presented this information like you know what's going on, so you might get a better idea of what's going on with Michael Tait and Newsboys if you go watch my other videos. So in my other video, my previous one, I made a statement that we really do need to be on guard because our enemy wishes to devour us like a lion. That's in the Bible. I was saying that, the devil could actually use this whole scenario for his own benefit, and we all need to be kind of on guard regarding what's going on. So there's always two sides to a coin, and I just believe that we need to pray and see this one out. I'm not really going to side with one party or another for a couple of reasons. It's important just to see these things through, and that's what I've been waiting for is more information. But the allegations, sometimes they're, like I said, they kind of even got me with that shock. So, but even that's regardless, because of those also allegations that people are making, it does mean that I can't really, I don't want to be on one side or the other. I just want to still get thought. But if people have been involved in schemes to cut people out of this industry and actually go to like these types of things, like lying and having people lie for them, that is really problematic, especially in the Christian music world. These are people that we listen to, that I listen to, and I sing praises with over and over to our Lord. I do want to see what's going on, and we should want to see what's going on behind the curtains. And so, I know some people might disagree with me, but I still have stuck with Tait and Newsboys. And that's even before this lawsuit and document came. I wanted to wait to hear more, and, we haven't gotten a lot of that. If I get it just from, the Roy's report, this is, reading over this, speaking about this, it just shows you that there are two sides to the coin, but there's also possibility of bias and, the shock words put into journalism just to, possibly get viewers. But regardless, if these allegations are true, I want to know that I'm on the victim's side. I think we are getting closer to what's really going on. And I think this document will probably open up some eyes, and we'll just see how it goes. We should not jump to conclusions, but I do want to say on that note, I still want to say that if there are victims, they come forward. Victims of Michael Tait, still on that note, because he did say one thing, but I do agree that the Roy's report did possibly kind of blow it up or, exaggerate possibly, but this is something that we're just gonna have to. I'm still waiting for a lot of things. This document's helpful, but we'll just see how that plays out in law, as well as in the industry, and see what this kind of shows and if this information is true. But this does change what a victim may look like. if the information regarding Nicole and her alleged rape, it seems like there's quite a bit of overwhelming evidence against that allegation. So sometimes now I'll have to step back and look and be like, well, I don't know, you're really a victim. And I don't want to get into that like too deeply because it's just kind of fantasy. I don't want to call her a liar and I don't want to call them a liar, but I just want to see what the evidence is. It really actually has a lot of evidence, so pointing against that, especially with her comments to the hospital, and this all will happen, just days after the incident happened. Yeah, like so it does. It kind of changes the perspective of what a victim may look like. Um, I just want to make a note that you got to remember there are things that can corrupt a person. People do all sorts of different types of stupid things, or things for gain that they keep secret, or other people do things that are bad. So these are just things that we need to pray about, and pray that we can see this one through, and that we actually get the correct information, and that we actually are able to get to the bottom of this, because I think it's very important. So that's about it for right now.